Good evening. I'm back to make a new recipe. This one's a little bit harder. It has a lot of different spices in it because it's an Indian recipe. It's one of my favorite Indian recipes. It's from the cookbook Curries Without Worries. And it's by Khulla Keema, and I might be mispronouncing that. I'm really sorry. So it's called Khulla Keema, and it's on page 69. And maybe Amelia can get it to kind of see
the
ingredients.
Definitely.
Lots and lots of ingredients. So Maddie's not going to help me with this one just because there's so many ingredients. But luckily Amelia's still here to help video this whole thing. So come on in. So first of all, I put some oil in a large pan. And I'm going to put like a small onion or a half of a large onion and 4 cloves of garlic, first of all, into my oil. I haven't started it yet. So put that in, and I'm going to put that in. Let me get my little scraper thing. So the onion's in, and the garlic is all in. So that's in, and then I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to, it calls for about a half a teaspoon of cumin seeds. I only have ground cumin, so I'm not going to use seeds. So I'm going to use maybe a half of a half, so about a fourth of that I'm going to put in right now. And I'm going to cook that up until the onions get a little bit brown, so put it on medium heat. A little spatula, and we'll start that up. So while I'm starting to heat that up, it's going to also ask for some fresh ginger, about 2 teaspoons. This is what ginger looks like in the grocery store. You get it in the produce section. And what I do is, I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but that's the way that I do it. I use a sharp knife and I cut off the brown outside skin of it and sort of try and find a straight piece to it. And then cut it off. And this one's kind of straighter, and I cut all the outside parts. And I'm ready to shred it with my little grater here. So I'm going to grate that. You see that, Amelia? It's a little bit on the stringy side, so, but it's grating it. Getting that all in there. Then I'm going to take it, it kind of sticks to the inside of that, so I'm going to grab it from the inside. Put that to the side, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put that in to cook with our onions. And it's just starting to heat up. And I have a nice smell of ginger, garlic, and onion. Rinse my hand a little bit. So while that's cooking away, once that gets a nice golden brown color, I'm going to get 2 pounds of ground. I'm using 2 pounds of ground beef to put in, but you can use, if you want it a little bit more authentic, which I have done before, you can use 2 grounds of lamb. You can also use 2 pounds of turkey, of ground turkey, but I've never used that before. But I have done the lamb, and it is really, really good. But first of all, it's a little bit more expensive than ground beef. It's got a little bit more fat in it, and it's a little bit more greasy when you cook it, so there's a little bit more grease in it. But that is really, really good. But I'm going to use some beef tonight. So let me go back over here and see how my onions are looking. Oh, we got to heat it up a little more. Come on. So when I first got this cookbook, I was living in Utah. My husband and I just got married and moved to Utah so he could study for his master's. And I didn't know how to cook anything. I only made pasta, pizza, and I guess something called chicken divan, which isn't even that good. And so those are the only 3 recipes I made for about a year. And finally, after a year, even though my husband did cook, he said, could you try and learn some new recipes? So I went to this great cookbook in Logan, Utah, to this great bookstore, and found this cookbook, Curries Without Worries, and thought, well, I'll try this. I had just tried Indian food in Chicago maybe the previous summer, and that was back in 93, 94. And it was the first time I had Indian food, and I thought, wow, this is really, really good. And so that's why I bought this book, so I could maybe try and make my own Indian food. So you can hear it. Come back, you can hear it starting to sizzle. What do you think? Does it smell good, Amelia?
Yeah, it does.
Good. So this is really good, and a lot of times with this dish, you can pair it with naan. I've never made naan. I don't know how hard it is, but I get something that's sort of close to it called flatbread. That's what it looks like. It's pretty good, especially if you maybe heat it up a little bit in the microwave. It's really pretty good. You can get this at Kroger or your local grocery store, and it's in the bakery section. And that's pretty good with it. You could, I guess, also do rice on the side if you wanted to, but probably the naan or flatbread is a little better. So it's cooking really nicely. And let me get out, I'm going to get out, let's see, my broccoli. That's what I'm going to have to go with it on the side, because we need some greens as well. So I'm just going to get that ready to make at some point to steam in here for now. All right. So now that that's starting to cook up, I'm going to put my 2 pounds of beef in there. Crunch that up a little bit. Chopping it up into little pieces and sort of mix the garlic and the cumin and the onion with the meat. You can mix it up, and we're trying to brown it up a bit. Now, my 2 younger ones, Liam and Amelia, you like this, right? Is this one of your favorites?
Yeah, it's good.
And Liam really likes it a lot. Maddie, she could take it or leave it. So I don't know if she's going to have this, or she might have some leftover burritos that I made a night or 2 ago. She might have that. So we're going to cook that up. Get that nice and brown. I'm going to throw this out. Thank you. And keep this to another side. So what we have next then, after that cooks up a little bit, we're going to put a tablespoon of the cumin, so a little bit more cumin, a tablespoon of the cumin. We're going to put a teaspoon of the cayenne pepper. Now, cayenne pepper is pretty spicy. I like the full teaspoon. If you want it maybe a little, not as spicy, maybe a little bit less than a teaspoon, but I put the whole teaspoon in. Then for the coriander, it calls for 2 tablespoons of coriander seeds. As you can see, I don't always have my spice cabinet up to date. I only have ground coriander, so I just split it in half and have 1 tablespoon of the coriander seeds. And then here's the turmeric, and I have a half a tablespoon of the turmeric. I'm going to put that in, and then I'm going to cook that up. Oh, I have to get peas. It has peas in it, so
Alright.
let me grab my peas. Oh, there's some peas. Let me see how many ounces is in this. 13 ounces. And how many ounces does it call for? Oh, it says about 20 ounces of peas, but I'm just going to use my 1 package of 13 ounces. That's fine. I'm going to put that out because I'm going to need that in a second. And at the very end, I chop up some hard-boiled eggs and put that in. And I also put in a teaspoon of cardamom seeds crushed. So that's right over here. I have ground cardamom. That's what I'm going to use. And then it calls for 2 medium cinnamon sticks crushed. I don't have cinnamon sticks crushed. I have already cinnamon. So I just get about 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and get that ready to put in too. So I'm gonna go, oh, and there's also some cream in there, and I'll tell you how much that is in just a bit. Some heavy whipping cream you put in, and that makes it really, really yummy. So we're gonna chop that up a little more. There we go. And then I'm going to cut up my broccoli that I got out to steam to go for a nice side. That's always good to have for a side, and it makes for a little bit of color and matches the peas. It's always nice to make your dinners look nice and pretty. I'm going to grab a knife. Just cut those down. That's one that's done. I'm going to put those in. I put that in my steamer on the stove. And when you steam broccoli, it's only like for about 10 minutes or so it doesn't get too soggy. Otherwise, it tastes kind of gross. So there we go. That away in a second. Alright, then I'm back over here to cook this up a little more. As you can see, it's getting a nice brown color. So when we used to live in Utah, well, Logan is Utah's where we used to live, and they didn't have very many restaurants when we lived there. We moved in '97, and soon after that, the Olympics came, and I think Logan got a lot bigger and got a lot more restaurants. But when we were there weren't so many. So we used to drive to Salt Lake City to go to some restaurants that there were more restaurants to choose from and some more international foods. And we'd go to this Indian restaurant called the Bombay House, and we would get something called Peshwari naan. If you ever have the chance to get Peshwari naan, I don't know what they put in it. It's some sort of cherry sweetened type thing in the middle of it, and I'm not really a cherry fan, but this Peshwari naan was really to die for. And if I could have just eaten that for dinner, I would have been happy. It was really good. All right, let's cook it up a little more.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. Amelia, do you know, what do you like when we go to Indian? I know we go to a brunch sometimes.
I don't actually know. I haven't been in a
I
while.
haven't been in a little while.
But I like this. This is good.
That's really good. What's the one with the chicken masala?
Chicken tikka masala?
Chicken tikka masala.
Tikka, yeah.
That's another one. That's what we eat a lot of when we go to the restaurant here. What's the name of the restaurant here we go to?
I have no
You
clue.
remember what it's called? Starts with an M. Maybe Maddie knows. Let's go ask her.
We're on a trip.
Hey, Maddie. What's the name of the Indian restaurant we go to?
Chavatai.
No, that's Thai.
Wait, that's Thai.
Indian.
Indian.
Yeah, remember we go to get the brunch?
I don't know, but
buffet?
it's good. It's right next to that liquor shop. Don't do alcohol.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, let's turn her back off.
Hey!
Starts with an M. Anyways, it's really good, and they have a really good buffet. And we get their chicken tikka masala. It's really good. All right, so that is mixing in really nicely. It's almost cooked all the way through. All right, there we go. And let's see what's coming up next. So, Khulla Keema. All right, so now we're going to put in the ground cumin, which is, let's see, 1 tablespoon. So we're going to put that in. Alright. And we're going to put in a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Like I said, it's pretty spicy, so beware. Alright. Then we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of the ground coriander, which is right here. Actually, that was the 1 tablespoon coriander because I didn't have the seeds, so I put the one tablespoon of coriander seeds and the ground stuff instead of the seeds. All right, and then we have a 1/2 tablespoon of your ground turmeric. So we're going to bring that over. Whoop, there we go. So let me mix that all together. And it starts to kind of change color a little bit, which is pretty cool.
Has a deep brown color.
Yeah. I think the turmeric helps change it. There we go. Alright. So that's cooking. It smells really good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a nice aroma.
The
All
color
right, so
looks
then
lighter.
after we get that ground, we're going to put in our peas. I'm going to turn on that as well. Let's see. I might not even put in this whole bag either because then it's like too much peas, so maybe just a little bit less than the 13-ounce bag. Something maybe like 10 ounces would be good, otherwise it's just too many peas.
I think Maddie doesn't like peas. I think that's why.
Oh, maybe that's why she doesn't like this recipe. I like peas though.
Yeah, peas
I think
are
they're
good.
good. It's good stuff. So we got that in there. Alright. And then we want to add the eggs and the cream. So the cream we have, let's see, 4 tablespoons of heavy cream.
That's a lot of cream.
Put that in.
I always thought it was like yogurt.
That's another Indian recipe that we have. Whoopsie,
Is
that
that
calls for
Malaysian?
yogurt. I don't know if that's Malaysian curry or what that is. But... Alright, so we got the cream in there. And I'm going to chop up the eggs. Because it calls for only, I think, 2 eggs, but I like to double it because the egg part in it is really good. So I'm going to cut that up. So I just hard boiled these eggs. I put them on the stove in some water, and once the water started boiling, I put a timer on for 10 minutes to get them boiled. All right, so we'll put that in. I like all the little sound effects.
Yeah, I
when
do
put
too. I was
stuff
gonna
in.
say.
So doesn't that look pretty? It's got the green and the white and the yellow in there. It's so pretty.
It's kind of Christmassy.
Oh, this needs a little red
Yeah.
Christmas. So we mix that in. Oh, a little more of this stuck in there. All right, so that's in. And then the last couple ingredients that we have in there is cardamom seeds. 1 teaspoon of cardamom seeds. I ground cardamom, so I'm just going to put a teaspoon of that in. See, it has a lot of spices. And then it has the 2 cinnamon sticks, and I just put 2 teaspoons of cinnamon in there. And now give it a mix. All right, and then we're just waiting for the broccoli to finish. And let me see, it says some water. Let's see if I need to add some water. Okay, yes, at the very end too, I put in about 1/2 cup of water to kind of give it a little bit of liquid. So put that in. mix that in. And voila, it's pretty much done. So now when I put it on a plate, plate. I can open up my bread. I usually give my kids about half or so of it. And then I take it over and I put a little bit of this in. And we're all set. And then you have a very traditional Indian dinner. And we'll put the broccoli right here and it'll look beautiful. So that's the dinner for tonight, Khulla Keema. I hope you've enjoyed it. And it's maybe a good recipe to do on the weekend when you have a little bit more time, just because it has so many spices in it. Anyways, I hope you have a good night and a good dinner. Thank you.